Hi friends, today's topic is Enqueue Work Process. Enqueue Work Process is like a locking mechanism. It is used to lock the objects and unlock the objects on a particular database tables. And Enqueue is nothing but lock, and DEQUEUE is nothing but unlock. So it's like a locking mechanism. So we already know that. And coming back to this architecture, so it's like a business objects, sales orders, and to prevent parallel changes in systems. Most of the locks are held by ASCS of Enqueue Server only, and we already know this. So Enqueue Server is installed along with the message server, coming native 7.4 something version, and these two installed together in ASCS. These two are resides in ASCS instance. So now I'm going to explain the flow of how Enqueue locks are going to happen. So whenever a user login into the login pad or GUI, the user request comes to message server to appropriate dispatcher. That means based upon available application server, this message server routes to the dispatcher. Dispatcher finds that based upon available dialog or process, it will route to the available dialog or process. It's dispatcher is like a traffic controller, right? So and dialog or process understand that user is going to update something on the database. How dialog or process understand that means, like whenever the user is going to hit something, it is related to update on the database. That means the dialog went back to Enqueue server, the request goes back to the Enqueue server. This Enqueue server is going to lock on the particular update related objects, right? And once Enqueue server locks on the particular object, then comes back to the dialog and dialog to update work process. So once the user is finished his update on the update work process, then update is going to save on the database. So once the save is finished on the database, so then the update work process goes back to the Enqueue server to unlock the object. So then it will, because the second user or so many users are working the SAP system, right? So lock and unlock is compulsory. Unlock and unlock after dialog to dispatcher to message server to the user. So this is the flow of Enqueue work process, right? And coming to discuss about, we're having different types of Enqueue lock types actually. So whenever the locks are handled by this Enqueue server, like, so in Enqueue server we are having 4 different types of Enqueue locks. Now we are going to discuss about 4 different types of locks. Okay, the 4 Enqueue lock types. First one is shared locks, representing with S. Number 2, exclusive locks, representing with E. And the third one is, it is a type of exclusive locks only, but we are calling it as cumulative locks. So this is representing with X. And the fourth one is optimistic locks. These are representing with a letter O. So these are 4 different types of Enqueue lock types we're having in an Enqueue server. So you can easily remember. So you can remember with the first letter: shared locks, exclusive locks, cumulative locks, optimistic locks. So what is mean by shared locks? Shared locks means we already know that means shared. So anyone can access. Anyone can access to see the data. But like they are having read access for everyone, read access for all. But no one can have write option. So this is, we are calling it as a shared logs. So in multiple people can have the access to see the data. That means they are having read access, but they don't have write option. That means they don't have a write access. That means edit access. They don't have edit access. And coming to exclusive logs. So exclusive logs are nothing but like only single person. That means single person can read and write access. So that we are calling it as a exclusively for one person, exclusively. Like we may hear this word in news channels so many times. Exclusively we are living on, exclusively we are streaming these things. So like this we are hearing them exclusive for one person. So only one person can read and write access. Remaining, what about remaining people? Don't have even read and write access. So this we are calling it as a exclusive logs. So what about cumulative logs? Cumulative logs are nothing but it's a type of exclusive logs only, but it's like a, I can say like flow. It's like a flow. The user going to like as example I can take you like he visited SU01, he did something, and then he visited a PFCG and he created role. So it's like a continuous logs for a user. So what will happen, like cumulative logs are nothing but it's a continuous flow. Like for SU01 edit is completed, the log is happened, then once like he edit something on SU01 like user editor, and then after he visited PFCG for role edit. So for SU01 the lock is enabled, and then after once he saved and go back to the PFCG, for SU01 lock is released, and then after we'll go back to the PFCG, and then the lock is happened for a role per PFCG, and then after when once he finished like a PFCG role things, the lock is going to be related, and again he is going to somewhere and locks. It's a continuous flow. Like this we are calling it as a cumulative logs. It's like a nested logs, we can say nested logs. So cumulative logs are nothing but nested logs. So it will allow the same users, same sessions lock the same object multiple times. That means it will allow same user or session, same user, same session to lock the same object multiple times. So usually during the internal calls. Internal calls are nothing but internal nested logs. We are next nested things, nested works. We are going to have this kind of cumulative logs. Next, optimistic logs. So optimistic logs. So optimistic logs are mostly used by ABAP developers in modern applications like WebDyn Pro or Fairy applications. So like whenever they are going to update something on a programmatical changes, like for system screens updating or developing something, so they are going to use this optimistic logs. Like we are not going to see this kind of logs in the system, because like mostly developers going to see this kind of optimistic logs. So this is mostly for, I think, ABAPers. So okay, so one user buffers the data and one user update the data, then update got fails, it's a rare thing. So optimistic logs are, it's like a rare thing, we are not going to see in a log types. So this is like a for, these are the logs are logs for ABAPers, like whenever they are going to write changes on the programs, these logs will use, like mostly they use in applications like WebDyn Pro or maybe Fiori apps. So this is mostly for ABAPers, these optimistic logs. So in Enqueue Work Process, we having these 4 types of different log types. Like shared logs is nothing but many people. So many people can enter the room at a time, but only to look around, not to move or change anything. We can take an example like this. So many people enter into the room at the same time, but only to look around, not to move or not to change anything. This we are calling it as a shared logs. And coming to exclusive log, it's like a one person is entering the room and lock the door. So it's like a one person is entering the room and lock the door. They finish their work. So once he finished the work, then unlock the room so others can enter. Right? This is like exclusively one person. Once he finished the work, then only the remaining people is going to work on the particular data lock. These are like exclusively for one person. So cumulative logs are like a same person locks the room, the then opens like another drawer inside the drawer, locks it again and opens safe inside, each time adding one more lock. Each time adding one more lock means like as I told you, like a SU01 after finishing PFCG, like, so this is a flow. Like same person locks the room, then opens another drawer and inside the locks it again and opens a safe inside, each time adding one more lock. So this is like a flow. So only when they close all internal locks, the full lock is going to remove. So this is how the like cumulative locks are works. Like we can call it as like a nested locks also. So these are like cumulative locks. This is a type of exclusive locks only. Exclusive locks is nothing but for this type it is going to be E. Like for this particular cumulative SU01, and then after we can see PFCG for E only. If you go to the SM12, with the SM12 we are going to monitor the Enqueue Work Process, right? So we are going to see like in SM12 we are going to see E only. That means this is the type of exclusive lock only. That is why, but we are differentiating with the cumulative locks, and these are like optimistic locks are only for ABAPers. Like mostly ABAPers developers is going to use this optimistic locks. We are not going to see these kind of optimistic locks because these are like rarely used. So yeah, this is about log types we are having in Enqueue Work Process. And coming to these shared logs is mostly anyone can use, multiple people can use these shared logs. exclusive locks is for we are also using, and some sales and material management team MMSD people is going to use, and as well as abapers, and as a basis consultant we are going to use this E type exclusive logs. And cumulative logs we are going to see, like these are like our basis administrations we are going to see. These X logs we can monitor for basis administrations and security people mostly, because we need to visit so many things, C01 PFCG, and then after we need to visit so many things and changes required in the system, right? For that purpose these logs will be mostly used by like this E and X type we are going to use mostly. This shade we are not going to see, like not going to observe it is, but we can observe mostly E exclusive logs we can observe in a SM12 mostly. So these are the different types we are having. 4 different types we are having in Enqueue work process. So see here we don't have any Enqueue related things here, we are having only dialog, update, background, spool. So we are having update for 2. So the total will be like a total work process is 19. We don't have Enqueue work process monitoring. In SM12 we are going to monitor any logs are there. So this is the T code to monitor SM12. SM12 is the T code to monitor the logs on the table. So I'm just click list. See, this is where we are going to check the log entries. If it is any log entries happen, we are going to see the logged client, the logged username, date and time, and which log mode we are going to see. Log mode means just now we discussed about the log types. We are going to see the log mode. E for exclusive, S for shade, and cumulative is for X, and O for optimistics. Mostly we are going to see E type only, and table, which table it is taking, argument and counter, context, draft, component. These many things we are going to see in SM12. SM12 is the T code to monitor the all log entries. This is all about Enqueue work process. Hi friends, as of now we are completed with the Enqueue work process log types. That means shade logs, exclusive logs, and cumulative logs and optimistic logs. Now we are going to discuss about some in detail things about how we are going to monitor the Enqueue work process. Enqueue work process monitoring. So we are already discussed this thing about where we are going to monitor. In SM12 we are going to monitor the Enqueue log types. Enqueue log types monitor in SM12. So this is the flow we already discussed. So whenever the user request comes to message server to dispatcher to dialog to, like whenever the user is hit something to update related, so the dialog request comes back to the Enqueue server, the lock is going to happen on the particular update related object, and then after once the user updates something on the database, the lock is going to be released by the Enqueue server, and then after this back to dialog to dispatcher to message server to dialog user. So this log and pad, the user is going to see the update is going to happen. So in the backend these many things is going to be happen. We are already discussed these things. So now we are going to discuss about like monitor things. So SM12 is the T code, ultimate T code to monitor the log types. This is the SM12 T code screen. So we are going to see, already discussed yesterday. So like in a which client is the lock is happened, by which user is happened, at what time the lock is happened, and date and time, and which lock mode, exclusive lock or shade lock. So we are going to see here, and mostly we are going to observe E type of like E related. We are going to observe with the E, like all the numbers only. If it is exclusive lock, we are going to see it the E only. So we are going to observe, like if it is like, suppose so many questions are there, like if the lock is happened from the more than one day, what we are going to do, like like the secondary user is going to use the same object, like you want to update something through the same transaction or the same session, like the lock should be unreleased released, right? Then only the user is going to work on the particular object. So these things we are going to monitor anyway, like our administrative things by using this work process move only, like majorly, like the update should never stop. Mostly that is the thing we are going to work on, like update whenever the update is going to happen, the enqueue is going to be held, the lock is happen on the particular object. So for SM12 we are going to see the monitor, like we are going to see S types and as well as the mostly E types we are going to observe, whether the E or S or maybe a hex type or maybe a O. So these many things we are going to see. Mostly we are going to see the E types only. These E types we are going to observe in logs. So these things we are going to monitor in SM12. And as we discussed, and some parameters are there, we are going to monitor those parameters as well. The first foremost parameter is like a Enqueue Work Process parameter. So by this architecture we are observing like a one Enqueue Work Process is enough for whole SAP system. So because we are using only one Enqueue Work Process, like this is a resides in ASCS Instance, the message server and Enqueue Server, that is there. Like if we want to increase Enqueue Work Process, can we? Yes, we can increase the parameter for Enqueue Work Process, like or this, it should be in small letter only, or this slash wp underscore no underscore enqueue. So this is the parameter. By default we are going to get only one. If you want to increase, you can increase, but we can increase for large large systems. That means large updates is going to happen in the database, like we are going to increase like 2, 3 or 4, like this, that we can increase up to 4 maximum. So by default 1 is enough for whole SAP system. Like it will happen within milliseconds. The lock is lock and unlock is going to happen within milliseconds, or 1 to 5 milliseconds, maximum 100 milliseconds, like that the lock is going to be happen. So this is the parameter, or this slash wp no enqueue. By default we are going to get whenever we are going to install in SFE, this parameter is only 1. If you want to increase for large system updates, we can increase up to 4 max. Enqueue table size parameter, one more parameter there is there. Enqueue table size parameter, Enqueue table size parameter. So this parameter is like enqueue, this is also small letter, enqueue slash table underscore size equals to. So this is also very important table size parameter. So if it comes to older systems, older 32-bit operating systems, with NetWeaver 7.0 versions, it may be start with a 4 MB to 16 MB default. By default is like 4 MB to 16 MB, and maximum we can increase the value 100 MB. So this is for older versions. you can increase up to only 100 MB only. For latest, like most of the systems are with the 64-bit nowadays, right? 64-bit systems with the latest NetWeaver 7.5 versions. Default is 16 MB, 16 MB to 32 MB. And the maximum we can increase up to 256 MB. And what about S4 systems? S4 HANA is the latest, right? S4 HANA systems comes with them default 32 MB, and we can increase as per our requirement, because it is storing it as a cloud, right? So we can increase based upon the requirement. We can increase the maximum size. So these two parameters are very, very important. See here. So this we can, by default we are going to get is only one, the parameter, the value is 1. Like we can increase up to 4 based upon the requirement. And this Enqueue table size is, initially it was 4 MB in our older systems, right? Initially it was 4 MB for 32-bit, like for 32-bit systems. 32-bit systems and NetWeaver 7.0 versions. And the maximum we can increase up to only 100 MB only. And current systems are latest ones, 64-bit operating systems with the NetWeaver 7.5 upgradation versions. So the default is comes with a 16 MB to 32 MB, and up to we can increase 256 MB. And current latest S4 HANA systems, it is comes with the default directly with the 32 MB, and we can increase up to based upon the requirement. It is because it is on a cloud, right? S4 HANA systems is on cloud, so we can increase as per our requirement. So these two parameters are important, and two more parameters are there. Like, so one is MS host, that is a message server host name, we are going to see there, and as well as Enqueue name, we are going to see the name of the Enqueue server as well. So those parameters are like, so by this MS host we are going to see message server host name details. By this parameter, and then after we are going to see the Enqueue server name, this Enqueue server name. And if you observe, like whenever you are going to visit default profile parameter, we are going to see the MS host. If you want, I can show. See here. So I just visit the profiles parameter here. You can see /w MS host. The host information is like this. You can see like this. This is the host name, and also here also we can see the Enqueue server post, the host name of Enqueue also we are going to see. If you want to increase, we can see the host server name also here. So this is about the parameters which we are having in the Enqueue work process, like and then after we are having some. And if you want to increase the table size, like how we are going to increase that, I already, so I want to show the default value of Z11 or disk /wp _ no _ enqueue. So by default there is a 0, the value is 0. If you want to increase, that means there is no enqueue, not like that. we are having Enqueue Work Process. If you want to increase the value, we can increase. So the one more parameter is there, enqueue slash table size. See here, this is the value. The enqueue table size parameter is like it is a KB 262144. Like it is already like 256 MB. The value is 256 MB. This is the enqueue table size. We already discussed the value after for latest ones, and it was 1.5 versions, like the 256 MB. See here, the NetWeaver 7.5 version. So as of now, we are discussed with how we are going to monitor with SM12 and what are the important parameters we are having in a enqueue. Like this is the default parameter for enqueue work process. This is the table size parameter, and these are the parameters we are having it in MS host and enqueue name to check whether the proper host name defined or not, whether the proper enqueue server name is correct or not. We are going to check it in OS level. And as a basis consultant, we are going to monitor the 12 to 24 hours logs. Okay, so by monitoring the logs, what we are going to observe, or we are going to take the action on the logs. Now we are going to discuss. Suppose there is a log in it is happened yesterday, like it is up to leading. The log is happened from last 12 hours, 12 hours to 24 hours. So we are going to delete the log. How we are going to delete the logs? In SM12 only. Suppose there was a log which is happened yesterday. The time we can see here, like you just select that log and you can delete the log. So whenever you are deleting the log, you need to take the proper approvals. Only delete the log, because if you delete the log, the data is going to be lost. The data inconsistency is going to be happen, and data lost. So this should be avoided, right? Like based upon the proper approvals means, like we need to check with the user, like by which user is the lock is happened, like what transaction is doing, at what kind of data is updating. It is an important update, or you can do it by some amount of time as well. So with those things we're going to check with the user anyway. So by the proper approvals of the users and as well as the leads, and we're going to delete the logs. So and then after, if the user is not available, but a lock is there, the user is means the employee which is working on SAP system, like he is updating something on the database, like but the lock is not there. The lock is there. The session is not terminated, like he is not logged out from the system. At that time, what we are going to do? He is not responding through mails or calls. So at that time, what we are going to do? So for this also, we need to take the permissions. So permissions instead of permissions, approach is a major thing. Proper approvals from the leads. And then after, you need to go to the SM04 T code and just terminate the session. Terminate the user session. So by doing this, the lock is going to be released. So this is a proper release, the user is going to be released. Like if you delete the lock, so instead of deleting the locks in SM12, so what will happen if you delete the lock directly, the selecting the lock and delete the lock, the data inconsistency is going to be happen, the data is not going to save on the database. So these things we are going to get in the in SM12. Instead of the deleting the lock, we are having in SM04. So once you hit the SM04 T code, so you may see here what are the things happening there. Assume that so there are two sessions is running, so the lock is occurred by this user. You observe in SM/O SM12, you observe here this screen, the lock is happened this from this Madhav user. You observe here by this time like he is not responding from yesterday, like the lock mode is like exclusive lock, like you may observe these many things. So you just stay after taking the proper approvals, so you just come here and select the user and you just click the session. See here I am on so the user session is there live, the Madhav is logged in the system. So I am just selecting the, you just select this user and then click session, and then after you just click session manager, and then after delete session, click delete session. See here session was closed by the administrator. See here there is no extra tab by the Madhav. These two are with the other user. See here the session was closed with of Madhav. So this is how we are going to delete the, if you refresh, the Madhav is going to disappear. So this is how we are going to work with the locks. Instead of deleting the locks in SM12, we are going to terminate the session by using SM04. Here also we are going to take the proper approvals only. We are going to delete the user sessions in SM04. So now we are going to discuss about the Enqueue work process response time. The Enqueue work process response time is, the dialog response time is default we are going to have 1 to 5 milliseconds, and from in central instance time, ASCS instance time is 100 milliseconds. That means wherever we are having with the ASCS equals to Enqueue server as well as the message server, message server. So these two things we are having in a same, right? From this central instance, the time is like 100 milliseconds we are having the lock duration. But when it comes with the lock is happened by dialog work process, the time limit is 1 to 5 milliseconds only. And the logs held by dialog work process not more than 1 hour. Like it will, if it is like not more than 1 hour, we are going to, the log is happened by background work process. So BTC, if it is handled by, if it is held by the background, we can see the logs will be like more than hours and annual, even days, like that we can see. So okay fine, where we can see the logs in SM50 is the T code to check. So the lock is happened here, lock. So we can see here the status. If it is the dialog, with the dialog, the lock is happened by the time at what time the lock is happened. If it is like a background, with the background, at what time the lock is happened, we are going to see. And locks are held by dialog work process is not more than 60 minutes. In the background, even hours and days, like that. And okay, and if it is exceeds more than 100 milliseconds, then what will happen? The central instance time is 100 milliseconds, right? If it is exceeds, what will happen? the enqueue time exceeds beyond the threshold, that means the dialog is 125 milliseconds, the ASCS instance time is like 100 milliseconds. What will happen? And if the enqueue server restarts, that means whenever the lock is going to be happen, right? So once the enqueue server restarts, what will happen? So these things we are going to discuss in the coming session. Thank you.